The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to today's Social Media Ambassador webinar. This webinar is put together for the ASBA Social Media Ambassadors, as well as anyone else that would like to learn a little bit more about engagement strategies within social media. I have with me Adriana Parsons. She is from the Peoria Unified School District. She's the director of the Medical Engineering and Technology Professional Academy, or the MET Academy, and she's a great colleague. And I asked her to join me on this webinar because she is I call her social media guru. She has taught me everything I know. For those of you who may not know who I am Heidi Vega, and I'm the Director of Communications for ASBA. And we are going to get moving. We have about 30 minutes. We want to keep it short and sweet. And Adriana is going to introduce to you a little bit about social media and some strategies to that.
Thank you, Heidi. We really want to start by introducing social networking and some of the main platforms that are utilized on the web. We see and hear all the time about Twitter and Facebook. Well, those are the leaders in the social networking space. Really, when you think about social networking, it's real-time conversations that you have face-to-face and then putting it up online. So those leaders in the industry, Twitter and Facebook, have really been able to identify with their audiences and really increase engagement and put social media up as an online tool to connect, comment, join groups, and have real-time discussions.
And I think we want to focus a little bit on Twitter and Facebook today, only because those are the primary users that work for our board members that we've seen with the demographics. So we wanted to really try to target your specific needs and requirements.
So when we look at these two platforms, Twitter and Facebook, I like to think of the Twitter as the coffee house, the coffee bar where you're going to get your real-time news and kind of the gossip and just short snippets of relevant, timely information. And Facebook, I look at as kind of our living room or family room, because that's where you can really post up pictures of your families, but then really identify yourself as a person and a public figure, but be able to relate it back to your own personality.
And I think it's also important for me, specifically for Twitter, like I've told you before, we've chatted about it, and it's a really good platform when you're following specific people. When I used to be the director of communications at a district, I sometimes would follow specific reporters and would try to tag them, trying to get their attention or pitch stories and things like that. If I wanted to get a specific message across to specific people, maybe didn't have their email or didn't have a phone number. It's almost like if I'm text messaging them without having their phone number, correct? And I also love Twitter because if I can use a variety of different strategies and just kind of stay above what's going on, with headlines, news here in the States. So that has helped me too. It's kind of like an all-for-one approach.
Absolutely.
Right?
And because it limits itself to that 140 character text limit, it's very easy to do a lot of scrolling. So I know we all stand in line waiting for our next appointment, and you can do a quick scroll through and find those short informational gems as you're scrolling through some of the followers and people you follow on Twitter.
Really, I actually do it when I'm driving in traffic. No, just totally kidding. So Adriana, talk a little bit about Facebook, because I really feel like Facebook has really helped, I think, just in general, help the public just kind of, it's a great strategy, especially for ambassadors. I've had board members ask, like, what are the specific things I should be doing on Facebook? What I tell people is Facebook, I feel, is really something like a platform that people should get to know you. It's more of a personable type of network where people get to know who your family members are, what you're eating for dinner, or, maybe understand your specific passions and beliefs on there. What do you think about that?
I think that's a perfect platform because it's so visual and it allows you more space to write narratives. So you're able to really tell stories within the confines of Facebook, and then it's so easily shareable with whomever's following you on Facebook.
Perfect.
So we're looking at the percentages of online adults who have been following these social networks. No surprise that Facebook is still the leader. I was actually surprised that Twitter was still at 23% because it really has blown up as a source of social media. But the other tools in there, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram, that's fairly where I think they would range within the whole social media usage in the U.S. in 2015.
Sometimes I see these, numbers, and in almost every presentation you see numbers, right? These percentages, and they're always kind of, either, higher or lower, but I tend to see Facebook and Twitter most of the times being a little bit on top. But can you maybe explain to the audience a little bit about, each platform, because some people might not really be involved in, for example, I'm a big Facebook user. I get Twitter for my, other needs, but like my 12-year-old son, he's a big Instagrammer, and I'm not. So maybe just kind of go through these and, talk about the generational uses and so on.
Well, I'll start with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is really the professional social networking platform. So it is really taking your professional portfolio and throwing it up online and being able to connect with those business contacts and really create a professional environment to share what your experiences are, what industries you've been with, what companies you've worked for. And it's a great platform for all of your colleagues to give you endorsements and to really create your digital profile as a bona fide professional. So it's a great tool for that. And again, if you think of a professional network, you're looking at more of a professional audience, professional demographic. To relate it back to home to our Met Professional Academy, we have high school juniors and seniors, and we encourage them to have professional LinkedIn profiles.
Oh, awesome.
Because it's really helping them to create their resumes and portfolios so that when they walk into the workforce, they already have a leg up and be using this social media platform.
I read an article about LinkedIn, and at the end, it had this really great line about, a lot of people use LinkedIn. Some people, should we be using it should I be on there if I already have a current job? I'm not looking for, another new opportunity or things like that. But I think it's always good, first of all, just to have something out there that people, know who you are, be able to identify you. But at the end, it said on LinkedIn, do people know, anything about you on LinkedIn? And I thought, what a great way, I think, for our board members or for anyone really, if you're passionate about something, why not put up there in your professional resume that you're an advocate for public education,
Absolutely.
right? Or you're a governing board member for this district or whatever. I mean, I think those are also great elements that you can add onto your digital resume in LinkedIn, right? So people know
Certainly.
who you are and what you stand for.
Absolutely. Looking at the other two, Pinterest. Pinterest really started as a collaborative for creative exposure, and it's evolved into kind of a place where you can do online shopping and really find things that relate to your creative instincts. And I know that classroom teachers are using it to really help with identifying certain lessons.
Oh,
and
awesome.
even looking at their classroom presentations and decorations within their classroom, because it sparks that creativity, because you're getting on there, you can see what entertainment, design, crafts, recipes, all of that. It's really that kind of fun place to find your interest and pin it. So the essential name, Pinterest. So you're pinning your interests to create a digital craft board, if you will.
So I have a question on Pinterest, and I was saving it for this because I know you would probably have the answer. But on Pinterest, I'm obsessed with it, especially for like fall fashion right now. I'm looking what's happening. But when you have friends you see your friends on Pinterest, and when they pin things, can you kind of explain kind of how that kind of goes with this?
Really, Pinterest is all, you have to let the user into your profile. So it's not more of a broad platform where on Twitter, if you retweet something and those followers can see it. It's not something like that. It's more of an inclusive, kind of a craft circle,
right,
where you have your friends and you have similar interests and you're seeing each other's pins.
So you accept them as
Yes.
kind of like Facebook, whatever, you accept them. Okay, perfect. All right, thank you.
And then Instagram really is the visual medium. It's to share photos, to share stories. And it's become really popular with a younger demographic because they're very visual and they like instant gratification, and Instagram supports that.
And Instagram also supports videos, right? Because I see a lot of big videos and kind of like almost like the opposite of Facebook. It's more videos, heavy video, heavy photos,
Right.
and then just kind of less content, but tagging.
Correct.
Right? Okay,
Mhm.
perfect.
Yes.
And then I've seen the functions, but when you post something on Instagram, it can automatically post to Facebook as well? Because I see sometimes
You can
how that
link
works.
you can link Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and now a new extension that's not up here yet, but Periscope. You can also work with your Twitter to connect to a Periscope, which is
Like
a live broadcast.
Yeah, live video.
Mhm.
Perfect. And then Twitter, you've kind of already covered, but is there
Mhm.
anything else specific maybe that you can tell our listeners about?
The demographic is across the board. I know that when I look at our high school students, they are enthralled with Twitter, but then we also have my dad is a retired associate superintendent from Flagstaff Unified. He's 65 and he loves his Twitter.
Really? Yeah.
Mhm.
I think because it's a more sweet and sweet type of platform.
Definitely.
One question I hope you can answer because I'm putting you on the spot, but I've heard this. So this is a significant challenge that I have, and I didn't realize that there was an actual way to resolve this with Twitter. But so I have my personal Twitter, and then I have a professional Twitter, or the ASBA Twitter account that I navigate. But I heard someone say that you can actually, there's a way to kind of, instead of logging in and out of the two accounts, you can kind of do something where you can just pick which one you're going to be.
Yep, you can toggle in between different accounts. So I do the same thing. I'm the manager for our Met Professional Academy, but then also I have at Adriana Parsons. So within my app on my phone, my smartphone, I'm able to toggle between those two profiles.
So is that an app?
It's within the Twitter app.
Oh, okay.
It's within the
Perfect.
Twitter app, but there are also social media dashboards, which this is probably a topic for a second level when you're having more conversations about the actual usage of social networks. But there are things called social media dashboards where you can manage multiple social networks within one online dashboard
Like
system.
Hootsuite?
Mhm.
Perfect. Okay,
Yep.
perfect. All right, great.
Well, as we go through here, we hear a common terminology, common lexicon now is hashtag it. It's more than just the fun word to say let's hashtag. The hashtags are very, very useful as quick search tools and archiving. So you'll see up there an example of the hashtag ASBA Heroes. That is a quick way to search the campaign for ASBA Heroes, but also it archives everything that's been tweeted or Facebooked about that specific program. And it's also used to help with that promotional piece. So if you want to get something else out and promo it, you can use a hashtag because it's kind of that tagline piece that is topical and shareable.
Does this work? So let's say I input ASBA, hashtag ASBA Heroes on Facebook, right? Does that work?
It'll pull up all of the posts that have that same hashtag.
And if I use that same hashtag in Twitter, will it pull up all the
Yes.
same? Okay, so it's kind of like a universal type of
Yeah, a search
strategy.
tool.
Okay,
Yes.
cool. Yeah, and I also even hear like the younger kids, like the kids at home. Sometimes they'll say something to me, and they're actually talking to me, and they'll say hashtag OMG. Like it's almost like it's a new trend. So
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
love that. Okay. Can you talk a little bit about the other two, monitoring the important conversations and connecting?
Absolutely. As school board members, you want to stay on top of the educational conversations within the social networking space, and you can do that by searching different hashtags. Heidi, hopefully you can follow up and share with the viewers but there's certain hashtags such as hashtag EdChat, which is a national hashtag. There's probably the National School Boards Association has their own hashtag, but those are ways to get online and find those educational conversations and tap into them using this searchable method. And then really connecting with your constituents. A good way to do that is to create your own hashtag. So every time that you're tweeting or Facebooking, you're using that as part of your post. So for instance, with our Peoria Met Professional Academy, we always use hashtag Peoria Met. And that creates that community online using hashtagging.
Oh, perfect. So now we want to keep it kind of short and sweet, and we want to kind of go in and give you some strategies. So we picked 10 really good universal strategies that will help help you advocate in your digital communities, hopefully increase the engagement levels within your digital communities, and just kind of get those positive triggers out there. And we'll start with the first one, and it's just one of the best strategies is making your friends feel like they're insiders. And basically, it's the people that already are your friends within your social media platforms. And I think one great example is just making your friends feel like insiders, right? And that's what we do. People do it all the time. It's called that VIP feel, and making people feel special. And we see it all over the place, but sometimes we see it, on radio. We see it on, TV, television, like Channel 5. They always do like tune in special report coming up next. It's almost like a information that no one else has except you. So they make you feel like that, specific VIP. Retail does it as well. What happens when you go to Fry's or Safeway, right? And they ask you for the VIP, card, because you're going to get that VIP price, right? So everyone wants to request that card. So it's really easy to do that within your own social media channels. If there's something specific that you want, you want to get out. I know for us as working with the social media ambassadors, there are critical things that communications, critical infographics, things that we want you to, or we ask that you, repost and you share out. So maybe even doing something on your, for example, something on your Facebook, posting and saying, stay tuned or tune in for some important information, or whatever you want to say, and then maybe giving it some time, maybe following it up with the second post, who's ready for new information, can't wait for blah 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 blah, and then posting your information. So you're getting people's attention, you're already calling them out, and then once you provide that specific information or that target message that you want to get out, people are almost expecting it, right? So you're just not posting it free will, not knowing if anyone's even looking at their Facebook. You're almost like trying to get the attention span going.
Everyone loves a good teaser.
Right, exactly. That's what it is. Or sometimes it's almost called clickbait too, right?
Yes.
You kind of, and another thing I love, and it's so bad, but especially like if I'm at Walmart in the grocery line and I see those magazines, right? And it's those titles that really get my attention. Like, I could hardly care who Kim Kardashian, is and what she's doing, but sometimes it's just those one-liners. It's like, it's calling my name. I have to open that article, right? So let's talk about triggers. So the second one is talking about triggers and really what you're posting and the kind of information you're getting out there. It's important that you do it with a positive element to impact that positive behavior. Research tells us that the most shared messages, those postings that are funny and happy, those are the ones that really make it viral. It almost encourages people to want to repost and reshare those out. And so that's important. It's kind of identifying when you want to post information out in a timely way, just to get people thinking about it. Adriana?
And another way to do that is to really link it to topical news and situations that are occurring. The big terminology is trending, what's trending online, so taking those topical pieces and making it relevant to your audience.
Right. I think another good example for me, I always bring these examples to the real world, lifelong examples, but and I'm going to take it back to Walmart because I just absolutely love Walmart and it's just close to me, so that's why I'm always there. But at Walmart, what happens during the summertime? It's June, so they have all the summer stuff out there in the front, the front aisles. And then kind of like right after 4th of July, what do you see there? It's all back to school stuff, right? And it triggers you as a customer to start already thinking of back to school, when you really don't. As a mother, you really don't even want to think of back to school because you're still trying to enjoy your 4th of July post vacation. But retailers do it all the time. They try to trigger you to start thinking about the next upcoming either holiday or whatever it is, celebration. So we can do that as well in education and try to implement those positive triggers and encourage people to want to share that information out. Don't be afraid when you're posting something or you want to say something on your social media platforms. Don't be afraid to end it with a call to action, maybe with a question or what do you think, and encourage people to get involved and encourage people, to share that information out, right?
Right.
The third one is emotion, right? And we always talk about the story of everyone, you see that video, you read that story, and it's the power of and really it's just using that emotion to tell your story. Adriana, and I know that you have plenty of those stories in your specific program about students and things like that. So give me an example of, how do you use emotion, or your students use emotion to get it out there in social media about the MET program?
Well, we have students working on authentic projects within the medical, engineering, and technology space, and they work alongside real professionals. So an example that really got us a lot of traction online actually included the Peoria Police Department. Our engineering students, 2 of them were interested in working on a prototype of a new type of bulletproof police helmet. So the school resource officer on our campus at Peoria High School came in and connected with the students and talked about his pain points and what would be needed. And then the students met and discussed some of their engineering principles that would help them design this new prototype. And what we did is took a picture of the meeting of the students and the school resource officer, took a picture of the helmet, and that really connected to not only our students, but the parents, the families of those students, and then those in the community who are really connected and concerned about the police force and what their safety is.
Oh, awesome.
So using those kind of unique stories that are going to hit multiple audiences and touch points and focus on those emotions that would be able to trigger emotions within different audiences.
And I think sometimes using the examples that, are, the commercial companies use, or, specific organizations. And so I'll give you an example. I was on my Facebook feed, and sometimes, you're just kind of going through them and you see like a sponsored ad or whatever it may be, but sometimes those are just great examples to just kind of take and just use,
how did they do it?
How did they do it and use your own way? Exactly. And so there was one it was a mini little, like, I would say half a minute commercial. I didn't even realize it was a commercial, but it was about a little girl. I think she grew up in either Russia or some country like that with her grandmother. And she was like 3 years old, and she saw, the Olympics are really big in Russia. And she saw gymnastics. And so the grandmother, the video shows a grandmother, seeing that the granddaughter really loved gymnastics. And so at the age of 3, puts her into gymnastics. So then the video then moves forward like 12, 13 years later, where she's on her way to the Olympics. And throughout the entire video, right, you can see just this gorgeous hair this little girl has. And so at the end of the video, she makes it to the Olympics, and it's just this like heartfelt, right, like empathetic type of story. I mean, it's bringing tears to my eyes, because I'm thinking like everyone wants this little girl to win at the Olympics, and you can see the grandma, years later watching the granddaughter from TV at home. And then at the end, she wins the gold medal, of course. She's on the platform. And then her hair, she kind of like moves her hair. And so the entire commercial was about Pantene shampoo. And I thought they did such a good job, because I would have never guessed it was about Pantene shampoo. So I thought that is just such a great strategy, because in education, it's so easy to tell those stories that people just aren't aware of. So focus on emotion, everybody. The fourth strategy, and this one's a huge one for me. I always tell people, make it public. It is hard to talk about something that you cannot see. If you can't see it, people do not know, right? And so, you can utilize that element every way you want. Everything from in the classrooms, teachers to you as a board member. People don't know, aren't going to know what is really going on if you don't go out there and say, look, these are the things that are going on. And so one good example that I use is Friends of ASBA. They put together what we call voting records, and every year they put this publication together. And the publication focuses on the legislators that voted on the K-12 education bills. So it's information about how your state leaders or your state representatives voted on public education issues, which are obviously very important to board members and to the public education community. But it's important that that information is made public, so you know who is voting on these key education issues and topics and who is not, right? I think that's just a great example of how you make that information public, right?
Definitely. We want to be transparent.
fifth strategy moving along here is talking about practical value. And so I love this one because it really the main focus here is what makes your message stand out. So you're telling a story, or you're, talking about the importance of your bonds and overrides, or you're, talking about Mrs. White's class and, the great things she's doing in the STEM lesson or whatever it may be. But how is that information that you're trying to post, you're trying to get out there in social media, how is that going to have some type of practical value to it, right? And so I was telling Adriana that one good one that you always hear, especially coming from a school district, is trying to get people to understand about, like, and I'll give the example, bonds and override elections, right. And telling people, about, people always question property taxes and things like that, and getting people to understand that maybe, that $16 a month increase may not even be an increase. It might just be some, a sustainability that's always been in effect, but a lot of people see it as an increase. I'll give that example. And so in my neighborhood, I have a neighbor that I always talk about, Margot, and she's awesome, and she knows I publicly always put her out there. She's great, but she's retired. Her grandkids are out of state. She's just here, and we were having this conversation a few months ago about the current override going on in my community where I live, and she was saying that the $16 a month. It's just something that's not sustainable for her, excuse me. She couldn't basically connect herself, I think, emotionally and
right.
financially to it, because she just doesn't have, grandkids here and whatever. Maybe she's retired, she's on a budget, and we get that. But I tried to use that great example about, well, the $16 a month is probably like 4, cappuccinos at
Sure.
Starbucks, whatever it may be. And that's a universal one people sometimes need to think about. But that still didn't get to her. Of course, she told me I don't drink that Starbucks stuff. That stuff will kill you. I make my own. I brew my own coffee. So, and then I was telling you, Adriana, that I looked down and I saw that she had these these beautiful polished, toenails, and they were obviously, she went and
professionally done.
Yeah, professionally done. Got a pedicure. But so when then I asked her about the pedicure, she says, she couldn't stop telling me about this great place just down the street where she gets a pedicure 2 times a month, right? Not once, but 2 times. So then when I was able to kind of identify and tell her, well, one pedicure would, be that $16 a month, it would be more, isn't my son's education worth that? She was able to connect with that. And I think this is a great example of practical value, how my message was able to stand out for her,
right.
With something that she was able to connect with.
Right. Pay attention to the trends, know your audience, give them content that they're interested in and that really relates to their needs.
Exactly. Hairspray would probably be one of mine.
Indeed.
Yes, that is $15 out of my bi-weekly budget. Number 6 is just basically tying your information to a story, right? Don't just share that information. We have to tell stories. People need to make it believable. People need to understand, what kind of information it is and why is it important.
And you can tell the stories, obviously, to increase engagement, but it's another way to help promote events, bring people into whatever organizations you want them to participate, and being able to bring a human angle
right.
to that human interest angle, and being able to use that to promote whatever your agenda is.
And I tell people too, get creative. I mean, feel free. Photos are great, and I love that. Photos just, capture moments. But sometimes you can do, a quick little video, right? Asking someone about something. We try to do that sometimes at our events. I ask people like, well, how did you like this event? Or what did you think about the speaker? Or infographics are big right now,
yes.
right? Getting people to kind of understand, different information, with specific, different types of strategies. And I think an infographic is one big one right now that we like to do. And I've seen that they become viral. People tend to share those out easier and faster and quicker because they're there and they're comprehensible, right?
Absolutely. They're visual. And we're in an age that we are all professional videographers. We have smartphones, so you can take short 10-second, 15-second videos, and those become quite viral.
Right. So this would be probably a good area to talk a little bit about Periscope. Can you talk a little bit about that and how people can share that?
Absolutely. Periscope, it really is easy to set up because it links directly back to your Twitter profile. And Periscope is it's an on-demand scope and a view of whatever action you're doing. So you can do a live broadcast and you can tweet that so that your followers can actually be with you in the room, take a hike with you out on the mountains, and actually be there in real time as you're holding up your phone and showcasing what you're doing.
So it's live though,
Yes,
right?
it's
So
live.
it's live, folks.
And it only archives for, I need to get closer connected to it, but it doesn't archive for very much beyond a couple of days.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Number 7 is don't ignore comments or complaints. And I think this is more of a case-by-case scenario. And so I think it's important to understand exactly what your end result's going to be here. And this is just what I tell people when they ask me, like, well, what do I do if somebody posts, a negative comment? And we'll just use education as an example, or funding education, because that's just a big timely topic right now. And it's really, I think everyone's different. I think my approach is, especially as a board member, is it's okay to respond to comments or complaints on your social media, but I think you have to think about what you want to say, right? And almost like I tend to correct information when people comment on my, postings or my things. I tend to use it more when I want to correct information. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. Sometimes things are just told, incorrectly, or they're published incorrectly by the media. So it's just my way of trying to get them to understand what actually has happened, or getting the facts corrected or getting the facts straight. And so I think that's a good approach to do. Adriana, what do you think?
I think so. You want to be as transparent. We've shared that. But being able to engage, that's what social media is. You can't just turn off those posts that you don't like, or the trolls that are on there saying things that are not agreeable. You want to be able to address that and use that as fuel to increase the engagement on your social networking platforms.
And I love that saying, right? That term, trolls, because there's just always going to be those Debbie Downers.
Sure.
Is what my mom used to say. Don't let those Debbie Downers get you. And number 8 is just basically focusing on building those relationships, like Adriana says, and awareness. So, versus likes on your page. So what's the difference, building those relationships versus likes? Can you talk a little bit to that?
Really, it's the increased engagement. It's always good to see the number of likes increase, but really when you go back to the analytics of social media, you get more bang for your buck based on the conversations and the shareable content that you have. So really it's about the quality of the content, the quality of the relationships and the engagement versus the quantity of how many people are following you or how many friends you have on Facebook.
I think as well, when you're a public education advocate, right, and whatever you do, wherever you're employed or if you're not or whatever it may be, but sometimes I think your messaging and your postings can get stagnant, right? And I'll give you an example. I had a friend that a couple of months ago told me that, all I do is just post things about education on my own Facebook page. And sometimes it tends to get lost within the feed because people already are expecting you to post on that sometimes people will just eventually ignore it, right? And just stop reading it. And so I thought about, how do I begin to increase engagement again, right? Or get people to want to listen to what I have to say. And, everyone has different strategies, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to almost take it back, bring it back, and make myself personable again with these people, with all these digital friends. And again, these friends are all people from kindergarten all the way to teachers that I've had, to colleagues, to family members, which can be the most critical sometimes. But and so I just took one day, right? And from the time that I got up to the time I went to bed, I was very strategic about posting things about me personally, just to kind of get that personability back, right?
Sure.
Get people to kind of understand why I'm so passionate about education, and everything from putting a cucumber mask in the morning to, falling off the treadmill accidentally because I was trying to, film myself, from, talking about my favorite foods to, talking about the importance of, what I do and why I'm here. And I think that was probably the most comments that I've ever received from all my Facebook users or my Facebook friends. But I think I did I got to that where I wanted it to get people began to pay attention to, why I was so passionate about these things. And I think that's important sometimes, right? To bring back your digital communities and increase that engagement and allow yourself to be open so they know who you are.
Certainly.
Right. And so that way it just kind of doesn't get lost.
Sure. And being purposeful in the type of content that you are putting up online.
Right. And I just thought that was a good lesson for me. Ninth strategy is, use what you like, right? And identify that target audience by demographics. I get a lot of people, especially board members, that ask me, well, which one should I be using? Should I be using on Twitter? Should I be on this? Should I be on Facebook? I don't really know what to do, and I don't have a lot of time. So Adriana, can you speak to that?
It's really, again, going back to whichever social networking platform you're most comfortable with, and whichever you find the most engagement. So if you're using Facebook and you're finding that you're having your friends and followers commenting or sharing your posts, and it's bringing more of an engagement factor into play, use that. Or if you like Twitter because you like that fast pace and the speed of connections, make that your initial platform. But it's always good to connect those, so you can connect Facebook and Twitter and kind of do dual posting, but also be mindful that they are different and unique platforms. So make sure that your posts, the content might be the same, but that it's repurposed to fit the needs of the 140 characters or the visual posting on Facebook, or even just a small photo on Instagram. Being able to take your content and repurposing it for whatever that platform is, whichever one that you're most comfortable being on.
So if I'm a board member and I'm on Facebook and I like that, I'm on that, but should I be on Twitter as well? Or should I be doing Pinterest? Or should I just stay to with what I know? Like stick to with what I know?
I'm an advocate for do what makes you most comfortable.
Okay, perfect. We are down to the 10th strategy, and this one is just a simple one, and it started with all the social media ambassadors, but building a team of your own ambassadors. And when I say that, people don't have to be, an official ambassador, but getting the people out there that are within your digital communities to want to repost, to want to reshare the things that you're getting out there. There's nothing wrong with asking, maybe starting with 5 strong friends on Facebook or, whomever is following you, and just asking them, hey, when I post about this specific thing, would you mind reposting it, right? Or would you mind resharing it? But with making it personable, making it a way where you can connect and people can connect with it when they're sending that out. And really, it's just about the goal or the objective of getting those things to go viral and getting other people to pay attention to that. What do you think, Adriana?
I'll take this from a student angle. I'll say that don't be afraid to have different demographics within your ambassador team. We know that we have this age of the new digital natives where they live online and they can be empowered by you asking them, your students and teenagers, to really help as part of your ambassadors. They're online and that's how they're connecting. So you can use different audiences to increase engagement. And then also connecting with their parents, using parents so that parent-to-parent speak, because they know what their needs are and what they're looking out for their kids. And then even saying that one of the teachers in your district could help be an ambassador. Looking at those different key audiences and pinpointing those people who can serve as ambassadors for those key audiences.
And sometimes I see board members on Facebook or on Twitter, but they do it more on Facebook. And I think they do a great job of it. Sometimes I see them like tagging specific people, like teachers or specific parent advocates, and kind of giving them a props or type of message out there. And I think it really just helps not only support these people in education, but it just makes them feel good, right? And sometimes I think we get on social media to relieve stress or just see what else is out there, but to feel good, right? I think this is just a great strategy to do that. This is probably the end of the strategies, but I do have a question for you, Adriana, before we end, because this is one that I get a lot. And for board members, should board members have or what's the difference between having your personal Facebook or whatever account versus a professional or type of public figure account?
Mm-hmm. The difference, really, it's based on what your content is and what you're posting. If you're trying to really be a public figure, which we all know that the line between work and personal life has become so blurred in this digital age, you really have to be mindful in what you want to be able to share with your audience. I would certainly advocate that the more that you can erase that line and be more of a personal and public figure and share that. We've talked about, Heidi's shared a lot of great stories and of her background of saying, what makes me so passionate about education is my personal experiences. I think if you can relate that and kind of erase that line between public figure and personal lives, you increase engagement online.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. Well, I want to thank you for coming out today and joining me on this webinar. Hopefully this will be one of several, I think, webinars as we can get a little bit deeper into making things go viral and increasing the engagement levels. But I think this is a good start for our ambassadors and anyone else that is out there listening. So thank you again. We appreciate it. And for all of you that are tuning in, thank you again. We hope to move forward with our ambassador program and do bigger and greater things for ASBA. So thank you, Adriana.
You're welcome, Heidi.